What is going on, miners, and welcome back to the Hobbyist Miner channel. Well, today's the day. We're going to go ahead and finally build this setup that I've been waiting and been so eager to do. Before we go ahead and go into the build, I wanted to go ahead and show you guys a package that I got here. So this comes to us right from Dogelord. So go ahead and check them out, dogelord.com. They have a boatload of crypto mining apparel from all the big YouTube personalities out there. So let's go ahead and open this up and take a look at exactly what we got. Alrighty, so we have a shirt here. Ooh, looks like Raven coin. Let's, okay. I'm gonna put down the camera and open this up 1 second. Alrighty, so I really have to learn how to do things one-handed. But anyways, check it out, man. We have a white men's t-shirt with the Raven coin logo, and check this out, guys. This has all of the major content creators and developers, and look, there's Kapow, Hash Raptors on here. Look at iMineBlocks is on here, Red Panda Mining, Bitsby Trippin', Brandon Coins on here. Let's see who else. I'm trying to see, like Son of a Tech. Look how big, man. He's got some big real estate on there. Let's see, who else do we have here? Vosh Coins on here. Let's see. This is nutty. Look at this guy. Who's this guy? Who's this guy right here? I'm actually on here twice. Check it out. So, the Hobbyist Miner, and I honestly didn't see this till just now. I'm not gonna lie. I did see this one over here. The Hobbyist Miner right there. But and I was like, oh, I'm a little man on the totem pole. That's okay. I totally understand. But look at that, man. I'm at the bottom there. Bottom of the belly of the beard of the bird. So yeah, there's a ton of different people on here. Guntis is on here. Who else do I see? I'm just trying to see of like people that I recognize that are on the shirt. This is phenomenal. So check this out, guys. It is over at dogelord.com. I don't have any special code for it or anything like that. But do go ahead and nab yourselves a Raven coin t-shirt. Alrighty, guys, it is build day. We are going to go through building out this entire setup today. This is what we're using as our frame. Instead of using our 6 GPU Veta frame, we are going to use this as our frame. So we're going to be setting up and putting all of our GPUs on hangers. We're going to be putting a motherboard in the middle, and then what I'm thinking now, and I really need to lay this out so you guys are going to do it with me, is we're going to do GPUs somewhere up here, motherboard and stuff in the middle, and then I believe I'll have enough space to do another set of GPUs on the bottom here. So I'm going to go ahead and kill the video, and I'm going to rearrange this rack the best I can. Keep in mind, like, I can't rearrange this mid-build, or else it's just going to be a ton of work. So I need to nail down exactly how we want to go ahead and set up the different shelves. So I'll be back in just a second. Alrighty, guys, so here is where my head's at. I laid this out, I moved the shelves around. So we have our motherboard sitting on shelf 2, okay? Up top here on shelf 1, we'll be able to do a number, I don't know, 3 across, probably 4 across. So maybe 8 on the top shelf here, total. And then here is what I'm thinking of the additional cards. So I can have some through here, some through here, and you know, I still have plenty of clearance based off of card size. And then if I ever get to, I can either build a second rig down here, you know, like if I ended up doing another motherboard here, as there's room for expansion. So then where my head is at is taking, you know, like here. So this is, you know, what if I put one of the power supplies here, okay? And maybe I have to put this in the middle. You know what I mean? Maybe this has to go in the middle to reach all the cards. I'm not sure. The other thought I had was, you know, I take one there, and I come over here. I stick another one here. Okay, so now I can, what does that do for me? That gives me, I can reach, I'm probably going to have to put it in the middle, is what I'm thinking. Because I'm going to need something down here. So, like, let me move these cards. This is probably the most time-consuming part, honestly, is figuring out where to put everything. Because I don't want to get into this and then have to take everything apart because I didn't think things through. Man, that camera keeps focusing. So maybe what we do is, let's see here. What if we put, so okay, we got one in the middle. Okay, we might actually have to do something like this. We might actually have to do, now these aren't going to sit on the metal once we get into it. Look at that, I got to stand on my tippy toes. I'm a short guy, I guess. So what if we put those two in the middle? So then so then they can reach all of these cards here. And then I take my ATX power supply. So let's say we put like this guy here. Well, maybe I'd spin it around here. I don't know. Maybe we'd put it like back here. Oh God, it's moving. Don't fall, please. That would be bad. So maybe we put like our ATX power supply there, because we have to power, and then we're gonna need more than that. We need more power. So I think we're gonna have to come over here. So maybe, I don't know. I'm thinking that's kind of the direction we go. Then, because the cards from here have to reach to there. Now I do have these longer braided USB cables. Oh my gosh, focus already. These longer USB cables. So we'll have to see kind of how they do. So, all right, let me go ahead and kill this. The camera is going nuts. And there we go. And let me come back a little bit and nail this down after I get some headway in here, and we'll go from there. So I'll be back in just a second. Alrighty guys, we are back here. It's been actually, I don't know, half hour or so since the last video cut. As you can see, we went ahead and put all of our GPU hangers on. And we are short. So this is just piss poor planning on my part. So we're going to put this GPU hanger in here. I'm going to show you guys how that works in a second. But we're short a few hangers. So literally I went and just ordered another set of these. I will put a link down below to the Misfits Mining Discord. That's where you can go to order these. They also have fans as well. So they actually have fans to go across here. Like a fan brackets, I'm sorry. Available for you, as well as RevTech. If you guys have seen the RevTech motherboards, they have risers that fit those as well to hang them. So I'll put a link down below. But what I wanted to show you guys was, look at all this. This is what you actually break out of this. So this is the way it comes. The X is used during the printing process. Like that's what happens in order to stabilize it. So you actually have to push really hard and break these X's out. So I'll show you here on this card. See on that card there? So that you can access everything. And then look at that. It's got little screw hole. Like the hole, it fits right in there perfectly. So those guys have done an amazing job with it. So I got one more to put on. And then I'm going to lay out all my cards, I decided. And then, because the easy part is the wiring. So I'm going to lay everything out first, and then we'll circle back here. So let me get this last one on, and then we'll lay out all the cards. And then for these, I'm just going to use zip ties, or what Red Panda Mining calls them, zap straps. Leave a comment down below. Is it zap straps, or is it, I'm sorry, not zap straps, or is it Velcro? Because I just call them Velcro straps. But Red Panda Mining always calls them zap straps. So let me know what you guys call them. But anyways, let me get this done, and then I'll be back in a second. Alrighty guys, we are back, and we're making progress. So we went ahead and take a look at this. It looks so pretty from the top down. We got all of our hangers. So these are all the 470s that are in here. So if you guys aren't familiar, let's take a look at one of these boards here and how this works. So this is a breakout board. So the way that this works is you got a power supply. There's actually a button right here that is for power. And then each of these is a 6-pin. So we're going to power a GPU riser, and then we're going to power a card, or might take two for a card. And we're going to balance out, you know, how many we put on these. A little trick with these, if you guys aren't familiar, if you load this up entirely, this thing sounds like a jet engine. So when you're balancing this, you can actually just listen for it. If the fan sounds like a jet engine, you have too much on it, and it's too close to the 900 watt. I'm running on traditional outlet of 110, so I'm only going to get 900 watts out of this. You get 1200 watts out of it if you're running on 240. But that being said, so these are going to sit right up top here and then provide power to the GP or to the riser, and then also to the cards itself. So this is all my 470s. I have one 570 right here in the front. You can just tell by the piping. And now what I'm going to do is get the rest of this set up. So what I'm thinking is the GPU risers or the GPU hangers come with these. They're little standoffs. So you have like a motherboard standoff and just a little like wedge, one for your power supply, as well as another one here that has the hole in it too. So it comes with all of these available to you and ready to go. These three we're going to zip tie, but I'm going to wait till we get everything else in place for now. So other than that, guys, I'll be back in a few minutes. I'm going to get the motherboard in place, and I'll be back in just a second. Alrighty, so we're back. So we are putting these motherboard standoffs in place. So the way they work is they'll screw in, and then you can actually see there's clips that actually clip right into our wire frame. So I have a few of these in already, as you guys can see on the bottom. We're going to put one more in place. And then we'll be good to put the motherboard. So we're going to get the motherboard in place, and then we're going to start to do, what do we got next? We'll do our power supply standoffs, and then we're going to get our GPU risers going. So we'll be right back. Alrighty, guys, so we are back. As you guys can see, the motherboard's in place, and look at that clearance under there. You see how those things work? They work great. And then right here, I actually zip tied our power button. This kind of came with it, donated from my friend of mine. So it has your power and your reset button right here. So I thought I might as well put it right on the front. Also up top here, I swapped these around because I can reach the power button easier. You guys can see right there, this little button, dink, is our power button. So my next thought was, okay, well, how do I keep these things off the metal rack? So it comes with these little standoffs here. Trying to find an easy way to do it. How does tech, let's see here. So yeah, right here. So you see how these will keep it off. And then I'm going to use some double-sided tape, which was recommended by Chump Change over at Misfit Mining, to keep the HP power supply sitting right on here. So let me go ahead and do that for our two up top, and I'll be right back. Alrighty, guys. So these actually did not end up working, because here's why. They sit this way, and I need them to sit this way because it won't work. The HP power supply won't actually sit on here properly because I'm not sitting them this way. I'm sitting them long ways. So instead of using those, I'm going to use my mat that I spent so much time talking about in our previous video. So we're going to go ahead and cut the mat around these. And this is a great rugged, tough rubber material, which will work really great. So I'll be back in just a second. Alrighty, guys, so check it out. So as you guys can see, this mat material I've gone ahead and used. It's all the way around the card to make sure that we have no contact with the actual wire rack. I also determined that I cut in a complete angle. I cut like a freaking kindergartner, to be honest with you. It took several tries. This one I actually ended up having to measure out, which I should have done the first time instead of just trying to eye it up. But that worked out well. And this material actually has a texture to it. So the nice thing is like this isn't going anywhere, which is awesome. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Okay, so it is midnight right now. This is taking 10 times longer than expected, but that's okay. Like, this is a hobby. This is for fun. So I'm going to go ahead and cut the video here. But we're not going anywhere. Stay tuned. I'm going to continue this tomorrow and keep building on this tomorrow and see how far we can get and kind of keep this going. So we'll be right back in just a second for you guys, but it'll be the next day for me. Alrighty, guys, so it is the next day, and we have decided to reconfigure a few things. So a friend of mine actually just stopped by and had a bunch of mining hardware for me. I did pay for them, but he had these, and these are a few years old, but this is a 750 watt HP power supply with a small breakout board. It's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 versus these guys, which have 12 6-pins on it. So we have a 900 watt. Now, granted, it's 1200 on 240, but we're just a traditional 110. So 900 watt, 750, and 900 watt. So I was kind of looking at it, figuring out exactly how much we're going to need, because you have to remember we have to power the risers as well as power the GPUs as well. So my next step at this point, now that I have things laid out, I'm gonna wait for the next layer. I think I'm gonna get this working first, and then we'll tackle the next layer. So my next step, guys, is to come over here and install my GPU risers. I have half of them from GPUrisers.com, and then the other half are kind of those Amazon no-name brand ones. So let me go ahead and get our GPU risers installed, and I'll be back in just a minute. Alrighty, guys, we have our 12 GPU risers installed here. These 6 actually have the white ones here from GPUrisers.com. You can see them all connected here and good to go. And then these over here have the blue ones here, the ones that we got from Amazon. So we'll use those until we have an issue and set. So our next step is we're going to go ahead and get all of these, which these are the PCI adapters that come with the risers. And they're actually going to come up here, and we're going to install these in the slots. Now we're going to go ahead and put them in the first 6 here, which is the A slots, which go with that 24 pin in the back, and then also fill these 6 slots, which are the B slots. So let's go ahead and do that now, and we'll be back in just a second. Alrighty, so we have our PCI adapter cards in. Let me step out of the way so you can see it here. So our first 2 rows are our white ones for our first 6. Then our next 6 are the blue ones here. As I said, we're not going to go with our next 6 here. We're going to wait to circle back around to that. I want to get all of this working first at the start of this video, and we'll circle back around at the end. So our next step is I'm going to go ahead and get the USB cable run from the GPU riser to the PCI adapter card. And as I talked about in a previous video, we have a few options. We can go with what came with them. We have these blue ones as well, a little shorter, and the red ones, which are a little longer. And then if we absolutely need them, we have these, which are even longer. These are 3-foot braided USB cables, so we have plenty of length if needed. So let's go ahead and get these wired, and we'll be back in a second. Alrighty, we have them all installed. If you guys ever do this on your own in the future, make sure you go through and just kind of push these PCI adapter cards down just to make sure they're perfectly seated. I've had plenty of issues in the past where like it's a little crooked and it comes up and says like the card's bad or something. There's actually these little like they're almost like giant staples, but they're 3D printed. They're like PCI adapter hooks or something like that. I need to look them up, see if I can get my hand on a few. But we are set and good to go. We have our red side here. It's like our Alliance and our Horde side, you know. And then our blue side over here. So our next step is going to be to wire up our power. So we're actually going to start with our GPU risers, and then we're going to go ahead and also plug in our cards. So my goal is to split evenly between these GPU risers. So we have 12 GPU risers, so do those across here, and then also our 12 cards across here as well. So let me go ahead and do that. We have quite a big box over here in order to do that with. A friend of mine just stopped by actually recently and gave me a few more. But we have plenty of 6-pin to 8-pin, as well as, look at these giant ones, these huge white ones for length if we need them. And then we have plenty of splitters. Let's look here. Yeah, check this out. We have plenty of splitters here. So we are set and ready to go. So we're going to go ahead and get started with that. And in the next clip, we'll have all of the GPU risers and the cards plugged in. Alrighty guys, so I got a few of these in. I want to show you exactly how I'm doing this. So we have a 6-pin here. You see how there's no additional tail here or 2-pin connected? It's the way these cables come. So it's running down, okay? And now we're coming down here. Now, you can see there's actually a, let me see if I can get it to work here. Okay, so it goes into a 6-pin here. It does have the tail onto it for the +2 if we needed to go to 8. So it's a 6 to 8 if we need it. Then it goes into a Y splitter and does the same thing here, and one goes into one GPU and one goes into the other. So a 6-pin is set up and rated to support, from everything I have found, 150 watts, okay? So each of the GPU risers is set for 75 watts. So that 150 divided by 2, we're good to go to support a GPU riser at a time. I know there's a bunch of debate in the community, but this is kind of how we're moving at this point. So if I go over here and show you that cable, this is that cable that we're using. And I wanted to show you exactly what I'm doing. There's links down below to a spreadsheet that has all of these guys. So it's a 6-pin. It goes to the extender here, okay, to the Y. And then it does have a tail on it if we needed to go to 8. And it splits into another 6, to 6 here and 6 here, and it does have the +2 there. So let me go ahead and wrap up doing this for the GPUs, and then we'll discuss how we're going to go ahead, for the GPU risers, and then we'll discuss how we're going to do the GPUs. Alrighty guys, we're back again. So here's what we went ahead and did, recapping on our GPU risers a little bit, circling back around. So this guy here is doing 2 GPU risers, and this guy here is doing 2 GPU risers. This one is doing a solo card right here, so there's no Y splitter on it. Then jumping to our center one, this one here is going right to this card, so it's doing 1 GPU riser, and this one here is doing 1 GPU riser. Then over here, this one's doing 2, 2, and 1. So we kind of balanced it out. So this one's doing 5 GPUs, this one's doing 5 GPUs, and then 1 and 1. So now our next step is to go ahead and use the same cables, the 6 plus 2. As I talked about previously there, we have a whole box of those cables here. And so what we're going to go ahead and do is now we're going to do this almost the same thing to a degree, but we're not going to split. You do not want to split when you're going directly from the 6-pin to the card itself. So that means we have 12 cards right now in this situation. So we need to have 12 available 6-pin slots, which we have plenty here and available to us. So let me go ahead and get that all wired up, and I'll be back to show you guys how we balanced it out. Alright guys, so now we are ready to actually power our cards. We've gone ahead and we've got our USB directly to the GPU riser. We also have our 6-pin to our GPU risers. So where my thought is so as we talked about, we have a 900 watt, 750, and 900 watts. So I'm going to put just a few cards in the middle on the 750 watt, and then on the sides we're going to kind of load the left and the right side up. So let me go ahead and get that wired up, and we'll take a look at exactly how we did that in just a second. Alrighty, so she's not the prettiest in the fleet, but she's going to do the trick for now until we make sure everything's working properly. So as you guys can see, we went ahead and got everything wired up and good to go. We didn't fill these entirely. As you can see, our middle one has a little bit less on it, and then this one has just as much as the left one there. So to give you guys an idea of exactly what we did here, we went ahead and wrote things down on our little handy dandy notepad. So left, right, or left, middle, and right. And then we have GPUs and risers, I know. So in the middle one, this one right here, 2 of these 6-pin legs go right to a GPU directly. 2 of them go to risers. Okay? So if you're running to a GPU, always run directly to the GPU. Don't run into a splitter and then split off into 2 GPUs. I always recommend that you go right from a 6-pin directly to the GPU itself. Don't try to do 2 GPUs over one of these 6-pins. Just my kind of rule of thought. Alright, so on our right one, we have 5 total GPUs and 5 total risers. Now keep in mind these are 900 watts, so 5 total GPUs and 5 total risers on this guy. On our left one, we have the same thing. 5 total GPUs, and 5 total risers. If I find that, and there's an easy actual way to see on these, if you end up finding that these things sound like a rocket engine, you have too much load on them. So you need to cut it back. So when we boot this up for the first time, we'll go ahead and see kind of how these sound. And if we need to, we'll try to rebalance some and kind of see how we make out once we're kind of good to go in that regard. So that being said, what is our next step? What do we have left to do? Our last step is we need to get our ATX power supply set up for our board, get our hard drive plugged in, and we're good to go. Now what we have here, actually, take a look at this. So this is what we're going to be using for our ATX power. This is a EVGA 650 watt gold power supply. This came, I actually won a Newegg shuffle, and this was one of the items in that shuffle. The graphics card we'll go over in a future video as a fun little surprise. And then we're also going to use our solid state drive over here, and we should be set and good to go. Now this has our original worker on it from our, if you remember, we had our Veta frame down here. So it's already on here and good to go, with Hive OS, but it hasn't seen all these cards by now. So let me go ahead and get my power supply set up and also my hard drive set up, and then we'll be back to kind of do a final review, and I think we're ready to power up. So I started to unbox this and was like, oh, this looks ridiculous. I was like, I need to go ahead and actually record this. So check this out. Look at that. That's like this cool little aqua green color. And then it looks real good here. This is the EVGA 650 G5, and it is our lovely here 80 plus gold. So this should work out really well for us. Nice thing is, check it out, fully modular. We're barely going to use any of this, which I think will be great. So we'll be back in just a second. Alrighty guys, a little time has passed since our last clip there, but we are set and good to go. So we have it set up this way, and over here, and a few things to show you. So we have our mesh here for our intake, and then under here we have it blowing out and down. So I'm going to make sure we don't have any cards around here as we expand this build. So a really nice thing about the GPU risers is the fact that they come with a whole bunch of these standoffs here. And they actually have one specifically for the power supplies, the ATX power supplies. So they kind of thought of everything when they put these together for us. So you can see right here, and actually if I go on the back, you can see it's a little dark, but you can see it sitting right here. So they're sitting up, so it's not on at all on the rack itself. Then if we take a look, you can see if it focuses, come on, it's focusing far, there we go. So you can see here we're all wired up and good to go. So a few things to go over with you guys. So let me cruise around back here. So cruising around back, the nice thing is so we have our CPU power, which wires in and goes into our ATX power supply. We have our 24 pin here that goes into our power supply. Then off of that we have our solid state drive, which is powered there. And finally this board, let me swing back around again. So you can see I actually have 3 Molex connected here. 1, 2, 3, because that covers A, B, and C. We don't have anything on C yet. We're going to get to that in the future here as we build this out. But for tonight and for this video, we have A and B completely covered. C has nothing in here. As you can see, we have room to add the additional cards. But you need to have the Molex power in there based off of what it has in the manual in order to provide additional power to the PCI adapter cards. So other than that, we're set and good to go. I think we got everything we need at this point. So let me go ahead and get our HP power supplies, our server power supplies plugged in. Then we'll be back in just a minute, and we'll try to power this thing on. Alrighty guys, we have everything in place. We have all of our HP server power supplies plugged in with power, as well as our ATX power supply here. And it is going down into a 1400 watt ups, just to kind of keep us safe if needed, take care of any surges. Not really expected to keep it up and running if the power goes out or anything like that. So one last thing to do as a recommendation when you guys get into something like this is when you're all set and ready to go, check every cable, make sure it's seated. Check every GPU, make sure it's seated. So I'm going to go ahead and do that, and then we're going to come back and power this on and see what happens. You know, these things never go as expected, so as long as we don't have any smoke, it's a success. So I'll be back in just a second, and we'll go ahead and see how we do. Alrighty guys, we checked all of our cables. I actually found one PCI adapter card that was a little bit like popped up on the one side, so I'm glad we checked everything. So now's our moment of truth. I'm not gonna lie, I'm a little nervous. Biggest build I've done. Yeah, the cable management isn't phenomenal. I know that. Right now we just wanted to make sure everything gets up and running. Right now we're running 12 GPUs. We will go ahead and get the additional 6 in place after this. I want to make sure these all work properly, kind of doing this top row here. Plus it gives us content for our next video to add more. These are all AMDs. So the next set we're going to add, we have an additional AMD as well as a handful of NVIDIA cards to add. So that being said, let's do this. So it is always recommended to power on your cards and your risers first. Like, do that at all costs first. So each of these, as we talked about previously, has a little white button right here. And this one actually has a black one in there. But let's go ahead and power them on. Okay, so we have power to all of our cards right now. We are set and good to go. Looks got 12.3, says 12.4 and 12.2. I just want to make sure these stay on top of these rubber mats that we've put in place here. So now our next step is to power on our ATX power supply. That is on. And our last step is to press our power button. Oh, we're getting nothing. So maybe our button was the other way. Nothing. Okay, that's never good. Let me double check a few things and we'll be right back. Alrighty guys, we are up and running. Take a look. There's our 12 cards, all green. What was it? It was the power button. Of course it was the power button, guys. It couldn't have been anything else. It was the power button. It wasn't properly seated into the motherboard. So all of our cards are up and running here. Our fans are spinning. Some of these have LEDs on the side. Here you go. You want to see a cool view? That's a cool view to me. Maybe not to you, but that's a cool view to me. You can see our GPU risers from gpurisers.com. They're all lit up with the blue and the red. Take note. Now, granted, we haven't started mining yet, but you can hear, well, maybe you can't, but the power supplies are not sounding like jet engines, which is perfect. Probably because it's not mining entirely yet. But everything's coming up. You can hear the fans kicking up here. We are getting no smoke, which is good. It's already trying to pull into the miner. So let's go ahead and jump over to HiveOS and let's find out exactly what's going on in the system and what it sees. So we definitely didn't get far. As soon as these started spinning up, before I even got to the computer to look at HiveOS, our ups actually overloaded and of course shut itself off. So taking a look, doing some more reading, this is actually an 1800 watt or 2000 VA ups. So I'm going to have to figure out what in the world I actually plug into in order to support this for right now. A proper PDU would probably be best. So I'm going to go ahead and try to figure out a solution as well as try to get us into HiveOS to see what we're getting. So I'll be back in a minute here. Yeah, need to figure out what to plug into. Alrighty guys, I am super happy right now. all the cards actually showed up in Hive OS right now. So let's go ahead and take a look. So we have 12 total Radeon RX AMD cards. One of them is a 570. The rest are the 470s. If you guys have watched any of my other videos, you guys have seen that the ones with the Samsung memory are the OEM ones, and the ones with the Hynix, as well as the, let's see if I can pronounce this, Elpida. Please don't murder me in the comments. Are the ones that are actually the RX 470 4 gig cards, but they're the ones that have the dual BIOS of the Sapphire Nitros. All Sapphire Nitros through and through, which is nice. So I have gone ahead and I've removed our flight sheet as well as any overclock settings that we have in here for these, and I have stopped the miner. So taking a look here, we can go ahead, we'll wait for things to kind of start to update as to what we have, to kind of see our temps are really, really good. Nothing going through the roof. Keep in mind, all of these cards have had new thermal paste put on them. Since we have owned them, that's kind of a rule of thumb to do as we get these new cards in, and they're barely using anything. As you can see, we're not mining or anything yet, and we're at 42 watts right now for our 570. That is the one card that uses not only an 8-pin, but also a 6-pin for the total power. So this is on number 7, which is actually number 8, because the ace slot. And we have to keep that in mind when we're doing our configs. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So when we go in to our overclock settings, doing all this ahead of time. So number 8 is going to be this. These are configurations that we have done previously. If you guys have watched previous videos, I'll put some links down below on the 570s and the 470s and overclocking them. We already know what these need to be. So we're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we're going to double that. There we go. So there's 12 cards, and number 8 now 1. Now granted this is 0. 1, 2, or so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And we're going to change that here. Okay, and then our core state's there. Now, all of our other ones are going to be 875. And I know we can get better than this for right now, for today. I just want to get this up and running. And then we'll go from there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So this is 390, a little bit more power. Then down to our memory clock, we're doing 1950 across the board. Okay, and then our 8th one, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 is 2050. Okay, and then here's our fan speeds. We're going to put all of our fans at 60 for right now, and then we can adjust them based off of any of them that start to see more heat versus the other ones. Now, keep in mind, we don't have any cooling fans around these other than the built-in fans on the heat sinks. As of right now, we actually have, if you guys have seen, and I'll put a picture up now, over on Misfit Mining on that Discord, I've talked about it a ton. That's where the GPU hangers come from. That's where the standoffs come from for the motherboard and the power supplies. They actually released this week a fan clip kit for these hanging racks. So we have 2 sets of the up here 120 millimeter fans. So we are going to add those in the near future to blow air through this entire rig, which will help out the airflow significantly. But until then, we are without that. So we're good to go. I do need to set our refresh rates to 20. And you guys have seen, if you guys have been on this channel, you've seen a lot of my AMD configurations up to this point. So I think we're good. I'm just going to double check here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. And number 8, 12, 11, 10, 9, 8. Perfect. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 2, 4, 6, 8, which is the 890, 10, 12. Good. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Good. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. Okay, so our configuration is set. We're good to go. We're going to save this, and we're going to allow this to update. on our rig. The one thing I notice up top here is that we don't get the, you know how up top you see like on your smaller rigs, it shows you like the little table that you can see like your fan speeds and your temps and everything. Granted, we can see that down here, but it's a nice little GUI up top here. You don't see that up top here. I don't know if that's just because we're over 6 or over 8. So I'm waiting for the overclock settings to apply to the rig. And then we'll go ahead and actually apply the flight sheet. Great, we're good to go there. So my next thing I'm going to do is I'm actually going to go ahead and actually look, there's a update here. Okay, cool. There's an update. So let's go ahead and apply this to Hive OS. Let's upgrade that real quick. It's going to reboot. We'll come back up and then we'll go ahead and kick this sucker off. There's no flight sheet assigned to it right now. So let me go ahead and let the upgrade finish, allow it to reboot, allow it to come back up, and then we're going to apply the flight sheet and we're going to see what we're getting. So we'll be back in just a minute. Alrighty, folks, we are back up and running. The reboot did finish. Let me go ahead and clear our activity at the top so it's nice and clean. So one thing to show you guys too is we have gone ahead and named this miner. I think it's definitely appropriate to name it Frankenstein. So that is what we have named it. We're working on another build here. You guys will see that in a future video this week. But yes, we have named it Frankenstein. Everybody I see out there names their rigs. So this one is no longer Worker 1, but it is Frankenstein. Sorry, having a sip of my cold coffee there. So anyways, now is the time to go ahead and kick things off. What do you think? So our overclock settings are, look at that, packed full. I love it. It's going to be even more full once we get the rest of the cards in. We have so the reason, and I'm hoping I don't get too much heat here for like clickbait or anything like that, because we're not at 19 today of this video. So you guys saw additional 3 cards, 580, a 1060, and a 1650. I then have another card on the way right now. But it may need its own rig. I'll explain more. And then I have 3 cards that are broken and down that I'm getting repaired. So we will go ahead and fill the rest here. Fill the rest of this here. It's just not going to be in this video. So I do apologize if anybody feels, hey, Hobbyist Miner, it's clickbaity. That was not the case, and I am sorry if anybody feels that way. So anyways, let's dive into this. And this has probably been this probably is and will be my longest video ever. So we're gonna go ahead and apply this. So if you guys aren't familiar, and we go ahead and edit this, we're mining Ravencoin. On these, remember all these are 4 gig cards. We're mining to the 2 miners pool. We are doing Team Red Miner, and that's it. So let's go ahead and update that, and then we're going to, you have to come in here and set it. I think we're good. Yep, we're good. If anything, it's doubling up, so we'll see what it does. Okay, rig config changed. That's good. It's probably going to try to do it again since I clicked it twice accidentally. And other than that, we can come in here. This is our this is the Hive shell, and type in miner. Is it gonna work? Nope, it's not working for me. Interesting. Maybe we messed something up there. Let's give it a second. See what happens. Alrighty, guys, so we got everything up and running, running into some challenges here. But as you can see, we got up and running for a very brief amount of time. Taking a look up here, we got some great numbers. Some of these at 14. We were at 153 mega hash, running at 12 cards right there at that point in time. And that being said, our fans were at 60. We had some decent temps. There was kind of card 6 in the middle here was at 50C. So a little higher up here, 53C. So we might crank that up a little bit. I like to keep my cards lower in the 40s if I can. So that will require me to up the fans at this point in time. But one of the biggest challenges I ran into was the fact of I ended up throwing this into just a surge protector for right now, just to get things up and running. I didn't plan to go long term with it, and it popped the surge protector. I was like, okay, sounds good. But one of the things I talked about, and I'll swap over to the camera to show you guys, and so I'll be right back. I'm gonna jump over to the camera and we'll talk about it. Alrighty, so here we are, guys. We jumped over to the camera. So one of the things we ran into when we got this up and running and started mining, this power supply was good, nice and quiet, blowing a little bit of hot air out the back, nothing crazy. This one was good. This one was a freaking jet engine out the back side of it. So I need to look at, you know, the really only the biggest difference is of the types of cards that we have over here versus the cards over there. The cards over here are more of the, you know, we have the 570 and then the RX 470s. These are the dual BIOS ones. These are the OEM 470s. So I believe I'm going to have to take a few cards off of this setup and move it over to this middle one to rebalance it. I think it's too much on here because, as I talked about, when these things sound like a jet engine, you have too much on there. So I'm going to swap that over. And then on top of that, as you guys can see, I just threw in a quick power strip just to get things up and running, and it tripped that power strip. So I actually have an electrician coming next week to review some of this because I think I'm pulling a little too much here. I don't know exactly what we're at this point in time. But yeah. So guys, that's going to end this video. We've made progress. We got this built. We're at 12 GPUs right now. We have a few more to add in over here. We have a few that need to get fixed, and we'll finally, and then our goal is we're going to build out the second rack down here and pack it full hanging. We have more GPU hangers coming. We just got in some new GPU risers as well. So we're going to have our additional cards down here. But my biggest issue is going to be power, is how do I support this? I'm in an unfinished basement right now. I don't have any special power run for something of this magnitude, and I think that's going to be my biggest lesson learned here is I probably should have thought that through a little bit more. Well, other than that, guys, our rig is done for today. We'll be back tomorrow with another video. If you guys didn't like this video, please go ahead and give it a thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe. I'll see you guys next time.